across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk all the way to 10 o'clock. Stand by for 3 compelling hours of breaking news, challenging views and topical debate. Get on the show, get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number, and I promise to play your message out. It is Wednesday, November the 12th. Here's what's coming up. Sensation in Westminster as the dark forces of Labour's left launch their bid to topple two-tier Keir from power and install someone who's even worse. Prime Minister Ed Miliband, anyone? Or how do you fancy Supreme Leader Angela Rayner? Or even the sorely overrated, not very good Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, his own greatest admirer. Brace yourselves, folks. You thought Starmer was bad. You ain't seen nothing yet. Fearing the end, Number 10 has gone into full bunker mode, lashing out at bemused cabinet ministers suspected of plotting against a beleaguered premier who, after 16 catastrophic months of shambolic chaos, is clearly on his last legs. The big question now, will he even last until Christmas? 0344 499 1000. Critics who believe that Starmer's escalating toxicity will guarantee a massive defeat at the next election are fed up with never hear Keir's globetrotting and point out that our almost constantly absent PM has left himself weak, vulnerable and ripe to be dethroned. But by whom? That is the question. 0344 499 1000. In other news, Donald Trump's billion-dollar lawsuit against the BBC looks like the real deal after the president announced that he has an obligation to sue media organisations that twist the truth about him. Meanwhile, is it wise of Beeb octogenarian John Simpson to pompously mock Trump's lawyer for A, being from Florida, what's wrong with that, and B, allegedly not knowing what salacious means? My advice to the state broadcaster, tell the world's oldest reporter to wind his pompous neck in. He's not helping. 0344 499 1000. Meanwhile, the migrant crisis just keeps on getting worse as it emerges that after Starmer's deal with Macron to toughen up the gendarmes' tactics on intercepting the small boats has resulted in more foreigners crossing the channel illegally, not fewer. Also tonight, among the 353 prisoners released by mistake since April last year, 353, count them, including more than 90 violent and sex offenders, is an Albanian drug dealer who has remained at large for more than a year. Justice Secretary David Lammy, take a bow. You're doing a fantastic job. 0344 499 1000. And guess who told Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick to F off? Stay tuned to find out. Plus, after 7 men were today charged with child sex abuse, I'll talk to a rape gang victim about the scourge that is still going on all over the country and ask her why Britain is giving Pakistan £19 million to tackle child sexual exploitation, while apparently allowing it to continue on a worrying scale in Britain. Why does this government always seem to prioritise the welfare of foreigners over British citizens, like, for example, the clear favouritism shown to asylum seekers? 0344 499 1000. And finally, more right royal trouble as the Andrew formerly known as Prince comes under intense pressure to testify to the US Congress about his knowledge of his one-time chum, convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. But unsurprisingly, the cowardly oaf is resisting the pressure, and he doesn't want to do it. Others in the royal family seriously want him to do it because they say that their work helping the victims of sexual abuse is undermined by his failure to cooperate in the investigation into Epstein. Will he, though, change his mind and cooperate? At the moment, it doesn't look like it will happen, but deadline is November the 20th. Watch this space. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Wednesday night together, and let's go straight over to my first guest. She is Talk's brilliant international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Good evening, Isabel. Quite a day, quite a lot to talk about. Before we do talk, let's have a listen to Good Morning Britain, or rather Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, the massively overrated, self-regarding Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, ruling out the very idea that he could be putting his eye on Keir Starmer's job. Have a listen.
Honestly, I think if the Prime Minister knew who it was,
so the Prime Minister has lost control of his own people within number 10 Downing Street?
I wouldn't put it like that. I would say that there are some people in Downing Street who evidently do not model the behaviours and style of leadership that the Prime Minister models. And
so the Prime Minister should find out who this person is and sack them?
Oh, look, my advice to the Prime Minister this morning is don't waste a single minute thinking about any of this nonsense. Keep doing what he's doing. Keep rolling his sleeves up. Keep attacking the problems that are facing this country and deliver the change this country is crying out for. That is the only thing that really matters. This stuff is like Westminster bubble nonsense. That's what we're in politics for. It's not self-service, it's public service. And whoever in number 10 has briefed this should remember that.
Thanks, Wes. Like you're not one of the people who are plotting against the Prime Minister, as is Ed Miliband, as is Angela Rayner. And that's where the danger here is. Never mind Wes Streeting. I actually think, given the dynamics of the Labour Party, despite his own ambitions, that he's probably an outrider. The problem here is that the forces rallying against Starmer are from the left. And therefore, there is a very real possibility, there is a genuine possibility that this coup could result in Starmer going by Christmas. And rather than Wes Streeting and all his dreams, it is more likely that we'll end up with Prime Minister Ed Miliband or Angela Rayner, maybe not in that order, but those two could be at the helm, and that doesn't bear thinking about. But I think the main headline here, Isabel, is this coup is very, very serious. At number 10 Downing Street, we know Keir's gone into full bunker mode. He's lashing out, apparently, furiously at nearly every cabinet minister, many of whom are completely bemused because they're not plotting against him, but Keir Starmer is trying to work out who. But this is serious. This is real.
Well, I actually don't blame anyone for plotting against Keir Starmer, because he could hardly have done a worse job, could he? No. I mean, I know we're thinking it could be worse, and I'm sure all sorts of bad things can still happen. But if I were in the cabinet, I would most certainly be plotting against Keir Starmer. After all, he's driven his party to the brink of extinction. I mean, it's right on the precipice, isn't it? That poll in the last few days that showed Labour in third place, that is an existential threat to a party that is used to having power every few elections pass between it and the Tory party. Keir Starmer has the unusual, extraordinary distinction of being the most unpopular Prime Minister on record in modern history. And his party has had the most rapid fall from popularity of any political party in modern times. So they're right to be plotting. The question is, for the voter, for the rest of us, is there any hope of anything better, or does it only get worse? As
I just said in my monologue, you thought Starmer was bad. You ain't seen nothing yet. I mean, imagine Ed Miliband, and it's a serious possibility. By far, by a country mile, the most popular cabinet secretary among Labour's rank and file. And when I say that, I mean the vast majority of Labour people who are left-wing, far left, most of them. Ed Miliband, among them, is by far and away the most popular cabinet minister. Second is Angela Rayner. Those are the two you've got to watch. As I say, you thought Starmer was bad, just you wait. But extraordinary times, because, as I say, this is real. The Labour rank and file, Labour and the Labour MPs have realised this guy is a dead duck. He will definitely lose them the next election, and more to the point, and this is where he's in big trouble, many of these MPs in the more marginal seats, in the Red Wall and all that, they fear that with Starmer at the helm, they are doomed at the next election.
Yeah.
They want to get rid of him now.
That's right. You know, I can't help thinking of something that's a slightly tasteless analogy, but I think about that plane in 9/11 that was going to crash, basically, and the brave passengers stormed the cockpit, and everybody, I'm afraid, perished anyway. And that is what it slightly feels like with this Labour Party. It's going down. That's the reality. I mean, there are 3 years, 4 years to go before the next election. All sorts could happen. Of course, there could be a dramatic revival, but it's hard to see how the threat is staved off from both left and right. And so there you have these frantic cabinet ministers, likely egged on by any number of backbenchers, who, much as they protest that they've nothing to do with it, and I saw that those MPs in the so-called in the north in the Red Wall are saying, "Oh, we've got nothing to do with this, and if there's going to be any leadership challenge, we need to be consulted." But look, they are looking at their own seats, and they're seeing that they're going to lose them, and so they're thinking, well, we're going to have to storm the cockpit. You know, maybe we're going to go down anyway, but at least it's a chance.
But here's another aspect. This is another indication, another more evidence, if you like, that Keir Starmer, I'm sure he's a great lawyer. Actually, I'm not that sure, actually. He certainly wasn't that good at DPP, Director of Public Prosecutions, despite how often he tells us how brilliant he was at that job. He wasn't very good at all. But I'm sure he's a sort of better lawyer than he is a politician, because he is a lousy politician.
Truly terrible.
He has been weak for a long time, vulnerable. Now, a sensible Prime Minister, a sensible party leader of Labour and the country, in this vulnerable situation, would not spend all of his time abroad. Never hear Keir. The more he is abroad, the more trouble he's going to get in, the more the plotters will seek to unseat him. Even David Lammy, not perhaps the world's most brilliant man, we read at the weekend, has warned the Prime Minister, you better start spending a lot more time in Britain, because they're out to get you. The more you swan off to this ridiculous nonsense in Brazil, COP, whatever it is, and all, and everywhere, he's always getting onto planes. He loves to go abroad. It goes beyond the fact that prime ministers or country leaders like to go abroad because they get taken seriously abroad when everybody at home hates them. It goes beyond that with him. I think he's got a childlike love of climbing onto lovely jet planes and flying abroad to glamorous places. He's got to be a lot more in this country if he wants to save his backside.
Well, I did something a bit odd today. I looked back at one of the key interviews he gave in the run-up to the general election. And one of the things he kept emphasising in this interview, and it was well worth watching again, actually, was that he would always put country before party.
Which country?
Well, precisely. Other countries before his own country. Yeah, maybe all those countries that he likes gadding around to. And I was just left thinking, well, that just isn't true, is it? Because if you put your party first, you would definitely resign. And if you put your country first, you would also definitely resign. So basically, you're only putting yourself first at this point, and your love for the trappings of office.
And my personal belief is that, Starmer is not going to last till 2029. There's no doubt about that. Labour can't risk that. I'd always thought that the most probable moment for his defenestration will be after the May local elections, when Labour are going to get a shellacking, a massive hiding at the ballot box, and they'll get rid of him and replace him with someone else. Because if to do so before, to put a new leader in before the shellacking at the local elections, that'll make it look like it's the new leader's fault.
Yes.
So that's what I'd always thought. And I think a lot of plotters, a lot of political strategists in Labour had always felt the same. But I think they're starting to panic. I think they're starting to say, this guy is so bad, we've got to get rid of him ASAP, as soon as humanly possible. Never mind the local elections, let's do it now. Let's have a happy Christmas without Keir as our leader. I think it's a possibility.
Yeah, I think it's odds against, for the reasons that you brilliantly set out there, that if they install someone new before next May and they still get an absolute hammering, which I'm sure they will, then that kind of tarnishes the new guy or woman, whoever it may be. But I agree also that they are panicking and there's a lot of thrashing around and kind of what on earth we can do. It is difficult, as I think everybody knows, to unseat a Labour leader that doesn't want to go. He clearly doesn't want to go. So I'm afraid we're probably stuck with this guy right up until spring or summer next year, hopefully not beyond. It's inconceivable that he leads them into the next election.
No, I reckon they'll get a real hammering in the local elections in May, mainly from Reform. By the way, he was out and about yesterday. We played the footage last night, saying, "Oh, the trouble with Reform is it's a racist party, racist policies." This divisive nonsense again proves he's a very poor politician. You know, you cannot. You know, there's nothing to in any way suggest Nigel Farage and his party are racist. They have policies that are different to Labour. It doesn't make them racist. So he's still banging that drum, which I think is irresponsible and divisive and a really bad tactic. So he's still on about that. And meanwhile, he loses more and more and more of support to Reform. I'm afraid Reform are talking the language of the people, and Keir Starmer, and that's a language Keir Starmer never spoke and certainly cannot identify with the people of this country at all, and therein lies their problem. That's why Labour are going, well, let's at least try and get a human being who runs this party, who could at least identify with some of the voters, understand them, more than this kind of weird little jet-setting robot we've got in number 10 at the moment. Let's go to break, and we need to talk about Donald Trump. We need to talk about his lawsuit against the BBC. This is real, folks. This is the real deal. It is not some idle threat. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned.
In terms of your question around taxes, there are no additional tax rises needed beyond the ones that I've set out.
Don't need to increase taxes. I'm not coming back with more borrowing or more taxes.
I will not increase your national insurance. I will not increase your VAT, and I will not increase your income tax.
We don't need to come back for more. We've done that now. We've wiped the slate clean.
The economic circumstances have declined, deteriorated since a year ago. We are having to look at taxes and spending.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi, it's hard to overstate just how badly the BBC is handling this threat from the American president, Donald Trump, to sue it for $1 billion. All they've done ever since he threatened to launch this massive legal action, because Panorama deliberately doctored and edited tape of his video of his speech on January the 6th, 2021, to make it look as if he incited violence, as if he urged that mob to march on Capitol Hill, which he did nothing of the sort. That is a massive, massive libel. The BBC should be being humble. Instead, even though the Director General and the Head of News have had to resign, proving just how serious this is. Both of them say, no, the BBC is fantastic. What's her name? The head of news there saying, Deborah Turner saying, oh no, our journalists are absolutely fantastic. Got politicians calling the BBC the light on the hill and that kind of nonsense. This is the lowest ebb for the BBC. And so then you have that old fossil, John Simpson, is tweeting, is actually mocking Donald Trump's lawyer. Because he's from Florida. I don't quite know why John Simpson finds that something to be mocked about. What's wrong with being from Florida? And B, because he says that Donald Trump doesn't know what salacious means. If I was the BBC, I'd tell that old pompous windbag to wind his neck in. He isn't helping at all. And the entire attitude of the BBC is really winding Donald Trump up. We learned yesterday, or was it the day before, that the BBC's defence, their legal defence, is going to be that although they admit this egregious falsity, this lie, this twisting of the truth, that it did not in any way meaningfully harm Donald Trump, the president. Has enraged them. So now it's almost certain he's going to proceed with this, because he had said, Isabel, that if you give me an apology by Friday, we'll think about it. Well, they've ruined that by their pompous self-regard, their belief that, oh, you can't defame Donald Trump because he's so terrible. Well, this is the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt. This is just in, confirming that essentially the BBC's attitude has almost guaranteed now that Donald Trump will pursue his billion-dollar lawsuit against our pathetically useless state broadcaster. Watch this.
I know the president has a very good relationship with Prime Minister Starmer. However, he has always been very frank when he disagrees with leaders, even whom he has a good relationship with. And the BBC, being a fair news organization, is definitely an outlet. I think these two leaders would disagree. The president has made it very clear that this is a leftist propaganda machine that is unfortunately subsidized by British taxpayers, and he thinks that's extremely unfortunate for the great people of the United Kingdom and Great Britain. And I think that the president was deeply concerned by the editing, the purposeful and dishonest editing of his speech that was so clearly fake news. And he rightfully dubbed that term many years ago. And this is a classic example of that. We see it in the United States all the time. We see it now in the United Kingdom. As you know, the president's external legal counsel has filed a lawsuit against the BBC. We expect that to continue. And whether they apologize or not is up to them.
So there you have it. And here's Donald Trump on Fox News. Again, he's basically saying that he feels it's his obligation to pursue media organisations who tell lies about him. And that's what the BBC has done here. It has told a lie about the President of the United States of America, which has kind of grown into a kind of diplomatic incident because, of course, he's the leader of our greatest ally. The BBC is in a world of trouble. Here's Donald Trump.
Are you going ahead and suing the BBC?
Well, I guess I have to. You know, why not? Because they defrauded the public, and they've admitted it, and their top echelon.
Director General and the CEO
This
both
is
resigned.
within one of our great allies. You know, this is supposedly our great ally, BBC. The government has a chunk of that one, I guess, but that's a pretty sad event. They actually changed my January 6th speech, which was a beautiful speech, which was a very calming speech, and they made it sound radical, and they actually changed it. What they did was rather incredible. They're showing me the results later on, the results of what they did, how they butchered it up. But it was very dishonest, and the head man quit, and a lot of the other people.
So, Isabel, what the BBC should have been doing ever since this horror emerged, ever since the Telegraph revealed this dreadful saga, BBC's been trying to keep quiet about it. And now it's, oh, the Daily Telegraph's revealed this, so this is a conspiracy theory, a plot against us by the forces of the right. No, it's just a story that the Telegraph has brilliantly revealed to the nation, to a shocked nation. Ever since then, the BBC it should have been showing great humility. It should have been conciliatory towards the president. When Samir Shah, the chairman, on Monday wrote a letter to the Culture Committee at Parliament, he failed even to apologise to the president in that. And now they should have apologised, they should have been conciliatory, they should have been humble, they should have said, I'm sorry, Mr. President, or we're sorry, we did something wrong here. You know, please forgive us. Instead, oh, Trump, no, he wasn't meaningfully damaged. No, this is a brilliant organisation. Our journalists are fantastic. No, oh, we're not going to go along with this. We're not going to pay him a penny. And John Simpson and Nick Robinson all coming in saying, no, this is Trump, forces of the right. Honestly, it's been like a textbook lesson in how not to handle this type of situation. The BBC's self-regarding pomposity has plunged it into even deeper trouble than it already was in.
Yes, I mean, much as it may stick in the throat for many people, I think we know from long evidence and experience that the way to handle Trump is to flatter and grovel when he's in the right and going off on one, and when you are someone who's weaker and in the wrong. You've got to be pragmatic about that. And while some of this is showmanship, as you rightly pointed out when we last talked about it, Kev, he will follow through. And you can see this going on for years, potentially, and being incredibly draining. And I think Trump feels that he's almost doing it on behalf of the British people. You know, I think he feels that this is something that he's doing to stand up for right-minded people in the UK. Now, of course, there will be a lot of people in the UK who would rather he didn't do that. But there are plenty of people in our country who are cheering him on as he takes on this great, bloated, complacent, self-indulgent behemoth.
And some people say, oh, yeah, but the trouble is it's the licence fee payers who are going to have to foot the bill, you know, if they have to pay out They won't have to pay him $1 billion, by the way, but I think they're going to have to pay him a hell of a lot of money. And yes, that will be passed on to licence fee payers. And oh, so that's all wrong. Well, no, that doesn't really come into it. It's a broadcaster, it's a media organisation. You're not allowed to tell lies about people, particularly deliberately. So our concerns about our pockets, they're not really relevant, even though it's slightly annoying. And what is going to cost us a lot of money, Isabel, obviously the lawsuit itself is going to cost us a lot of money, but if you want to point the finger at who to blame for the possibility that licence fee payers may have to really foot a huge bill, blame the BBC for their ridiculous defence so far. Oh, you can't libel Donald Trump. He's a terrible man. Oh, we didn't meaningfully damage him. It was human. It was a human error of judgment. It wasn't an error of judgment. It was a deliberate attempt to falsify. It was a deliberate attempt to twist the truth and tell a lie about the man who was soon to become the President of the United States of America. They've got to get real. They're the ones who are going to cost us a lot of money because of the absurd nature of their proposed defence.
I mean, I can just see it now, can't you? You know, Rachel Reeves standing up and saying that, you know, there's less money in the coffers because of the Trump tax. You know, we've got to set aside huge amount of contingency money for the anti-Trump fighting fund. Yeah. I can just see it. Look, I kind of think go for it, Donald.
I do too. I think the BBC deserves it. I think the BBC deserves it.
Let's see where this leads. Yeah. At the moment, as you say, every reaction that they're giving is only digging into the hole ever further.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Now, when he sued 60 Minutes, the kind of equivalent of Panorama in America, on CBS, he sued the parent company Paramount. They ended because they spliced together Kamala to make her look a lot better in a debate against him than she actually was. He sued them. And ended up getting $16.5 million from them. I think he sued them for $100 million. So this is the American way. You sue for $1 billion, you take $20 million or something. Either way, you heard it here first, folks. So the BBC is going to end up having to give Donald Trump millions and millions and millions of pounds, and it will have to grovellingly apologise to him. You heard it here first. That is what's going to happen, because this BBC, I just can't express my contempt for it enough. Useless organisation. I mean, what on earth were those people Tim Davie and Deborah Turner's talking about? Lisa Nandy calling it the light on the hill, a beacon of truth. Come on! Come on! You know, do you know why all these Labour and Lib Dem politicians love the BBC? Because it's not a business. It doesn't have the commercial imperative. And they hate the private sector, so they love the BBC because it's the public sector. Me, it's the other way round. Let's go to break now and talk about the migrant crisis when we come back. More trouble on that front. Stay tuned, folks.
Across the UK, on on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Isabel, this is about the deal that it's all part of the one-in, one-out scheme. At the time where Macron and Starmer were negotiating this hilariously pointless waste of time, the one-in, one-out scheme, they also negotiated, or Starmer said he'd negotiated or got Macron to agree to get the gendarmes, the lay coppers on the French beaches, to intercept the small boats out at sea, and not, you know, to go to wade into the sea, to follow the boats, to stop them. In other words, to get hitherto, the system ridiculously had been that as soon as the migrants got ankle deep in the sea, as soon as they set foot in the sea, in the English Channel, on the beach, northern French beaches, the gendarmes' policy was, OK, that's it, we don't touch them. So Starmer got Macron to agree that they would go further now. They'd start getting in boats themselves, start intercepting the small boats, bringing them back, before they set off on their 21-mile voyage to the south coast of Britain. Well, it turns out that since that world-beating deal, that in fact more migrants have been successfully crossing the Channel than before, rather than fewer. So another triumph for Keir Starmer's negotiating prowess.
Well, I don't think anyone should be any doubt about how little the gendarmes actually do. And I will be very soon bringing some pretty powerful evidence of this to Talk. The reality is that the gendarmes have every opportunity to stop this happening long before the migrants ever get to the takeoff points, to the launch points for these boats. There's no need for anybody to be paddling around in the water. There's no need for it ever to get that far. But the French are totally complicit in this whole operation. Why? Because it's completely in their interest to wave these largely, I'm afraid, undesirable, because they're already breaking the law by the way they enter our country, to wave these undesirable illegal immigrants our way. And the sooner we all get real about that, the better. In my view, we should be demanding our money back from the French. And if necessary, we have a proper row with the French about this. Let's completely cut the pretense that the French are actually helping us here. They're not.
Yeah, and to prove that, as I said, so the one-in, one-out deal, which many of us are struggling to understand the very point of, what is it? So we're watching that. So in the past, if you're watching on TV, you see the migrants here paddling. As soon as they paddled, the gendarmes would lay off. So, as part of this one-in, one-out deal, sealed in early August, Starmer got Macron to agree that from now on they were getting boats, they'd chase them, they'd pull them back. Anyway, so since that deal was made, 28.7% of migrants' attempts to make the crossing have been stopped. I find that quite hard to believe, but apparently that's what it is. Before, in the corresponding time before August, before that deal was made, 38% of illegal crossings of the English Channel were being prevented by the gendarmes. So this deal has got even worse. And this is just a snapshot of the fact that all the horrors we hear about, all the BBC and the big stories, all the time, ticking away in the background is the migrant crisis. Last week, from Thursday until Sunday, 4 days, 2,120 migrants crossed the Channel illegally. 2,120. Now, think about that. 4 days. Now, prior to that, there'd been literally about 2 weeks, getting on for 2 weeks, no crossings at all. And various politicians, Labour politicians, you see? The one in, one out scheme is starting to act as the deterrent we always told you it would. We're all going, oh, wait a minute, what's the weather like? Oh, I know, the weather's been pretty bad for 2 weeks. Last 4 days of last week, Thursday to Sunday, it was like a mill pond. As soon as the weather's good, as soon as the conditions are calm, they come across in their hundreds, nay, thousands. It's an ongoing catastrophe, no deterrent to stop it.
There is no deterrent. I mean, the demand for these crossings actually massively outstrips the current supply of boats and smugglers to get people over. What does that mean? It means that the smugglers, the people traffickers, will simply keep upping their game. The boats will get bigger, they'll get more overloaded, they're going to start trying different vessels. They lost 2 weeks of business as a result of that bumpy weather. It was very, very windy in northern France. That was the crux of the issue. Smugglers really have any care if a few people drown here or there. What they don't want is too many people drowning, because that's bad for business. So they simply suspend operations when the weather's too rough. And that's what happened over these last couple of weeks, which won't have stopped ever more people arriving in northern France hoping to get a boat. So in a sense, there's a backlog. And we can expect lots more whenever the weather is good enough for them to risk it.
Absolutely, absolutely. As I say, since early August, when the one in, one out deterrent was launched, something like 13,000 migrants have crossed the channel illegally. So it simply is not a deterrent. At which point you say, well, what on earth is it for then? It's just a waste of money, a complete waste of money. And by the way, a story that broke yesterday, was it? Or was it the day before? You know, a second one of these one in, one out deportees that we sent back to France has decided, I don't like France much, and got straight back to Calais, straight onto an illegal small boat and straight back to Britain. That's happened twice now. David Lammy keeps saying, that proves the one in, one out scheme is working.
How?
Thanks,
How does it
Dave.
that?
It's just ridiculous, just ridiculous. Let's go to break, and we're going to talk about law and order when we come back and find out who told the Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick to F right off. That next, stay tuned.
In terms of your question around taxes, there are no additional tax rises needed beyond the ones that I've set out. Don't need to increase taxes. I'm not coming back
with more borrowing or more taxes. I will not increase your national insurance. I will not increase your VAT, and I will not increase your income tax.
We don't need to come back for more. We've done that now. We've wiped the slate clean.
The economic circumstances have declined, deteriorated since a year ago. We are having to look at taxes and spending.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, I'm still with Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Now, Isabel, you know, both of us have our doubts about the current Conservative Party, the Tories. They've lost the plot. They've lost the support of their followers because they betrayed them over 15 years of pretending to be Labour light, the bloody idiots. You know, so I don't have much time for Kemi's crew. But the one guy among them who I think is sort of in touch with reality and the fears and the worries and the concerns of the people is the Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick, who's got a knack for zoning in on things that people are upset about. So recently he went and filmed all the fare dodgers on the London Underground system. It's a really good little video. Anyway, he's done it again. He's zoned in on a growing problem, which is, you know, particularly among workmen, you know, guys who have vans with all their tools. They're always getting broken into. And all of these tools that are stolen, they're very valuable, invariably end up at car boot sales. Now, this was one on Hounslow Heath to the west of London, where Robert Jenrick went there and found all these tools, but encountered some of the guys who were selling them. Shall we say, the atmosphere swiftly soured. Have a look.
It's one of the worst car boot sales in the country for selling stolen tools. Hundreds, thousands of tools. Lots of tools have got tradesman's marks on them.
There's a bloke's name on that, Jamie. Someone's nicked that, haven't they? Are you going to make some money out of that guy? This is just the contents of some bloke's van, isn't it? Where is this all from?
It's not got to do with you. You know what's going to happen now? It's going to be a lot of us. We don't want to do. Can you just go on, please? Just go on.
There's going to be a lot of you do what?
Just go away, please.
Where do you get all of these from? Where do you get a container of tools from?
I don't know. He didn't tell me because I would buy it as well from there.
How much did you get that for? 100 quid. That's a bargain, isn't it? It looks almost brand new. You're the owner of this site, aren't you?
Correct, yeah.
But you honestly think that everything being sold here is completely legit?
Yeah, otherwise we'd...
Where do you think they're getting all these tools from?
Well, I don't know that.
So if I owned a car boot sale and was making money out of this, I wouldn't want the car boot sale to be selling stolen goods.
We don't permit anybody to sell stolen goods whatsoever.
How do you enforce that?
We give everybody a leaflet on the way in.
You make it sound like it's all a bit of a joke.
And then he got told to F off. But he's got some balls, hasn't he? And that is an interesting issue to zone in on. You don't sort of think about it much. I mean, I only recently, a couple of weeks ago, poor guy, nice guy. My house sort of backs onto a mainish road. It's the back of the house. I get this plaintive knock on my door and I open it. Nice guy, young guy, probably in his late 20s. He goes, "Excuse me, sir, you know, you didn't see anything out of the back of your house at all?" I said, "No, I'm sorry, I didn't." Why? He said, "Well, my van was there. It's just been cleaned out. Somebody's opened it and smashed into it and cleaned it out." So this is a problem, and I think it's good politics when people like Jenrick do things like this. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are I absolutely love it, and I wish more politicians were bravely doing stuff like this. This is down and dirty. This is what reporters do. You know, they go out and they knock on doors and they get told to F off and many other things besides, and that is how you find stuff out. You don't find stuff out sitting in your nice office in the Palace of Westminster. You find stuff out by going out there and eyeballing people, and you can tell when they're lying. You know, he stood there and asked those guys, where'd you get your stuff from? And they were blustering and flustering and flammeling and disseminating. It's stolen stuff. You know, he's
Clearly,
right about.
yeah, 100%. It's all stolen.
Clearly.
Yeah.
And then you've got the organiser going, yeah, we'd never allow anyone to sell stolen goods. Oh, right.
Yeah.
So how are you enforcing that? Well, we put a little leaflet round. Brilliant, guys. What an effective policy that is. So well done, Robert Jenrick. I'm a massive fan. Not generally a fan of many Tories, but I think he does a great job. And, you know, he alone is just somehow keeping a tiny bit of the Tory party relevant.
I agree. He is their star performer without a shadow of a doubt. Kemi Badenoch, beware. Still with law and order, Isabel. Let's talk about David Lammy, Justice Secretary, and this bizarre continuing syndrome of our prisons constantly letting dangerous prisoners out by mistake. So the tally from the 1st of April 2024, so sort of last year, until October the 31st, just gone. So from October 24 to just a couple of weeks ago, we have let out 353 prisoners in error, including 90 sex offenders and 90 sex or violent offenders. 353, and one of them, a Albanian drug dealer, who was released from prison by mistake, is still at large and has been on the run for more than a year. David Lammy keeps blustering, I'm furious about this, but it keeps happening. Those numbers are extraordinary. So what is that? I mean, it's basically almost one a day. What's going on?
I don't know. I don't get it, because it's quite a process to release prisoners. I mean, there's an awful lot of paperwork involved, isn't there? You don't just get kind of, all right, okay, it's your day-to-day, we'll open the door, bye-bye. There's actually quite a build-up to it. So there's clearly something fundamentally flawed about either the process itself or the people operating the process. And it may actually be more to do with the second, you know, people simply not reading things properly, pressing the wrong buttons, blundering around. I don't know. I didn't know this was a thing until quite recently, but clearly it is a thing. It's not even a new thing. It's been going on at the rate of, you know, 1 or 2 people or more per week for a long time. What's concerning is that there seems to be an uptick in it.
The last one, the most recent was apparently on November the 3rd. So what is that? 8 days ago, 9 days ago, whatever. And David Lammy told MPs today, or was it yesterday? I've been informed this afternoon that HM Prisons and Probation Service are investigating a further case of a potential release in error on the 3rd of November, who may still be at large. And you talked about the paperwork. Now, if you remember last week, an asylum seeker, sex offender, and also a fraudster were accidentally mistakenly released from Wandsworth Prison, a notorious Victorian outmoded monstrosity building in South London. Now, you talk about the paperwork. Well, it transpired that literally that's what we're dealing with. Most of these prisons, Wandsworth included, don't really have computers. They still use staples and bits of paper. So, you know, they're like something out of a bygone age. Something needs to be done about this, you know. Buy them some computers, Mr. Lammy. Why don't you try that?
I mean, I think if I were in charge, I'd be inclined to say no one gets released until we've worked out why all these mistakes are happening. Yeah. You know, get to the bottom of it. In the meantime, guys, sorry, but you're just staying put until we've worked out why we keep messing this up.
It's just extraordinary. So it's come to the point now, hasn't it, Isabel, that, you know, we sort of live almost entirely amid a blizzard of people being released from prison. Sometimes deliberately and legitimately because they haven't got enough prison cells, so they keep letting out drugs dealers and rapists and God knows who, literally to make room for more prisoners. And then other times by mistake. So what's happening is some of our most dangerous citizens or residents of this country are just, for whatever reason, on an almost constant basis being let out of jail. This is not a country that is functioning on a sensible level, is it?
Well, I think we've got to add another category of people that shouldn't be rampaging around or loitering, whatever else they do on our streets. And that is all the people who should have been sent to prison in the first place and never got custodial sentence. As all of that is rolled back, you know, even if you get a guilty conviction, you get a guilty verdict, and people are getting some pretty serious offences are getting away without a custodial sentence. So you think about all those people who are now floating around in our midst, and then add in another category, which is the people who have done bad things but are never actually brought to justice in the first place. And you perhaps begin to see just why there are so many stolen goods in that car boot sale.
Yeah, and yes, well said. Also, I suspect there are a lot of people in the Labour Party, maybe Starmer included, because he is secretly pretty far left, old Starmer, who don't really approve of prison. They don't think it's a very nice thing. They don't think it's a form of punishment that fits in with their be kind ideology. And I just wonder about that, because it seems to me if a government can turn around and say, right, that disused military base, by next week we will fill with asylum seekers. Couldn't they similarly convert that disused military base into a kind of a prison? If they wanted to, I think they could find space to put prisoners, but I suspect they don't really want to.
I think that's right. And I think the other issue is how difficult it is to actually get decent prison staff. I mean, it's not prison officers. I mean, it's not an easy job. Far from it. It's a really tough job. It's not particularly well paid. And over the recent years, they've had quite a lot of problems recruiting people to do it, having to draft people in from abroad and so on. So I think you're right that there's no political will to create a great more prison space. It's just such a shambles. But lovely to talk to you, Isabel, as always. Thank you so much for your time. Isabel Oakeshott there, Talk's a brilliant international editor. She'll be back with us next Monday, as always. Maybe before, you never know. When we come back, we're going to talk to a rape gang victim about the fact that the scourge of rape gang activity continues apace. Stay tuned for that.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's talk about the rape gang crisis, because that's what it is. It isn't a thing of the past. Everybody knows it's still happening. That was brought into sharp focus today. We don't know what these men are going to plead, but it makes you think. 7 men of foreign heritage appeared in court today, charged with more than 40 offences as part of an investigation by the police into child sexual exploitation involving 11 young victims. 40 offences, 40 alleged offences. Now, these are unfolded allegedly in Somerset. These 7 men appeared in Bristol Magistrates Court today. None of them have entered pleas yet. They remain in custody. Detective Chief Inspector Tom Herbert, the senior investigating officer, said this was a complex and investigative and sensitive investigation which has the protection of young girls from exploitation at its very heart. That's great. But I suspect that around the country there has not been enough of that going around. Too many young girls, many of them underage, vulnerable, mostly white girls, victims of rape gangs, mostly made up of Pakistani men, Muslim men of Pakistani heritage. 250,000 victims, they suspect, as many as that. Their welfare has not been at the heart of anything. They've basically been abandoned. And where is that inquiry? Where is the inquiry the government keeps promising us? It keeps getting kicked down the road, doesn't it? They haven't even got anybody to be the chairperson of that inquiry yet. Not expected to start, if we're lucky, until next year. Some of the rape gang victims who were part of the inquiry have resigned because they're so fed up with the government dragging its heels, and the government trying to kind of widen the remit so that the finger is not pointed at Muslim men of Pakistani heritage, who are, after all, mostly the culprits, the perpetrators of this ongoing horror that has now been going back too many years. Now, meanwhile, we learnt today, in terms of child sexual exploitation, Britain, whilst clearly not doing very much about child sex exploitation in this country, has sent £19 million to Pakistan to tackle child sexual exploitation problems there. What is wrong with that picture, do you think? That strikes me, I'm sure that that's a massive problem for Pakistan, and I hope it sorts it out, but we should be spending that £19 million on the British victims of the ongoing rape gang scandal, which is happening all over this country. It's still happening, including in London, where the mayor, Sadiq Khan, pretends it isn't, or says he insists he doesn't know that it isn't. He keeps saying, do you mean the county lines problem? No, we mean there's clear evidence that child sex exploitation, that rape gang activity is going on in London, but we have a mayor who sort of says that it isn't. Now, let's talk to one of the brave young women who actually resigned from the public inquiry, the National Public Inquiry, in dismay, for the reasons I just explained, and who has some very strong things to say about what we saw today, the fact it's still going on, and the fact that we're sending 19 million quid to a foreign country to sort out its own problems with child sex exploitation. I find that enraging. Let's find out what grooming gang survivor Ellie Reynolds thinks. Welcome to the show again, Ellie. Always a pleasure to have you on. Everything that I just said must really annoy you.
Do you know, it's not even the annoying anymore. It's the kind of holding your hands in the air going, hello, like, we're here in our own country.
Yeah, and I mean, as I say, you've got to be slightly careful because these 7 guys who appeared in Bristol Magistrates Court today, all of them of foreign heritage, allegedly persecuted and tortured these 11 young girls. All of these guys appeared in court. They haven't entered their plea yet, so as things stand, we have to say alleged. But it does, this is Somerset. And when I heard this, I thought, well, there is an indication that this, this idea that it's just Rochdale or Barrow where you're from, or Rotherham, or all these places in the north, it's not. It's happening all over the country, including London, right?
Yeah, I think what people need to be educated on is the fact that it's not just your towns that you hear of, like Rochdale, Rotherham. It literally does happen everywhere, whether it's a small town, a city, it doesn't matter. It is countrywide. It's been a problem for many, many years, and because they're getting away with it, and they've got away with it for so long, it's becoming a problem. It's a problem that's going to end up international if we don't fix it now.
Yeah, and when you say international, I mean, that £19 million we've sent to Pakistan to sort out or to deal with their problem with child sex exploitation. I feel very sorry for the victims of that, the kids over there in Pakistan. But wouldn't the £19 million, can't they deal with their own problems? And that £19 million should be going towards the victims of child exploitation here, towards getting to grips with this ongoing scandal.
Absolutely. I mean, like you say, the girls and potentially boys over in Pakistan, you really do hope that they get the justice. But I think it's an absolute storm at the minute that our country can't even sort its own children out. 19 million, yet the girls that resigned from the panel, including myself, we've not heard a word from Keir Starmer, and we asked to meet him last week. Why can't you meet the girls in your own country, but you're happy to send 19 million to another? There's victims and survivors in this country, and what was it, approximately 250,000? It needs to stop, and it needs to, honestly, it's frustrated me today.
Yeah, and how are you feeling about this? Because there still seems to be, we all know it's going on. Talk to any copper, talk to any sort of local social worker, local politician. Everybody knows this is still happening, particularly here in London. And yet, once again, we see the authorities, you must be noticing this, and it must be like a kind of horrible deja vu experience for you. The authorities seem to sort of want to stick their fingers in their ears and cover their eyes and act like it's not happening. We're not getting to grips with this, are we?
No, I think we're so used to it. We've watched it unfold for years and years where they've not been interested, but I kind of look at it now and I hope that the country is looking at what's being done in front of us. I hope that now the people of our country can realise what we've had to endure, not just from our abuse, but from authorities, services, because they've never, ever succeeded in supporting us. They're only supporting us lately a lot because there's pressure on them. They have to support us. There's been mass pressure. I think it's disgusting.
And you said just now, early, that you tried to get in touch with Keir Starmer last week. You tried to organise a meeting with him. Presumably, that was for you to try, maybe with your friend Fiona that we met last week, to try to sort out or work out with Starmer exactly what's going on with this public inquiry that never seems to happen, that tried to change the remit so that they didn't point the finger at the kind of guys who persecuted you. We're talking about Muslim men of Pakistani heritage. The government doesn't really want to sort of make those kind of people look bad. So was that why you wanted to see Starmer, to find out what's happening?
Yeah, we asked to meet up with him, one, for exactly the reasons that you've just said, two, because he has met with all high-profile cases like the post office, the contaminated blood. Why can't he put 5 minutes of time into people that have been gang raped and tortured in his country? And I say that lightly.
You don't say that lightly, I don't think. And have you heard back from him? Did he respond? What's happened?
No, he's not responded. He gave us a very half-hearted letter when we first sent the first one out. After asking to meet with him, I asked other people today that had resigned from the panel if they've heard anything, and nobody's heard a thing. So this is now, what, a week?
So you girls who resigned from the panel, I think there were 4 of you, weren't there, in the end? You, Fiona, that we met last week, and a couple more. What you're trying to do, when you said you tried to get in touch with Starmer last week, try to organise a meeting, what you're trying to do is to try to sort this mess out. You've quit because you don't like what the government was doing or what the remit of this inquiry seemed to be turning out to be, which was they wanted to widen it so that they didn't point the finger at Muslim men of Pakistani heritage. You didn't like that. So that's why you quit. Presumably you're getting back in touch with Starmer to say, listen, we want this inquiry to work. We want to participate. Can we talk about how it's going to get back underway? Was that the kind of idea?
Yeah, pretty much. And because respectfully, I think he needs a harsh reality check of victims sat in front of him, telling him what they've gone through, so he can at least have somewhat of a heart to be able to pull his finger out of his backside and help.
Yeah, exactly right. And you've heard nothing back?
Nothing at all.
And what about the alleged safeguarding minister, Jess Phillips? Have you heard anything from her lately?
Nothing at all. There's not been a thing from Jess Phillips from me personally. I asked to meet with her for over a year and she cancelled every single time. So honestly, I don't even waste my breath on her now because I think you're not even fit for your role. Why would I want to talk to somebody that's not fit to do their job anyway? Because I feel like it would fall on deaf ears. I feel like, to be fair, with the majority of the authorities and services, it does fall on deaf ears. But I think the pressure has been so intense that it's kind of like they're backed into a corner. The public are watching them now and they have to do something.
Except it sounds to me as if what they're trying to do here is once again let it fade into the background, make sure it's not making headlines so nobody's really thinking about it, and then kick the can down the road. That's what it seems to me they're trying to do. They don't like this issue. They never wanted a public inquiry. They were forced into it by Louise Casey's review. Now they've got to have one, but they still don't really want to have one, do they?
No, I agree with that. I think that they have, done a lot of things to get the headlines so the inquiry does fade. I think that, when people are reading this headline to say, Keir Starmer's sent Pakistan 90 million to cover sex abuse, or how great of him, nobody's quite sat on the back burner saying, hold on a minute, what about our own girls and boys in this country? What's happening with them? And it does just give that shadow effect. Like, you fade. The children of our country are yet again fading. Why?
Well, look, people like you, Ellie, and Fiona, we met last week, and all the other girls, all the other victims, right? 19 million quid. I think what would be nice, it would probably take more money than that, but, what would be nice would be if the government said, we've got 19 million quid, let's give these poor victims some compensation for the ordeals. They'd be let down by this country, let down by the authorities, let down by coppers, by teachers, by social workers, by local politicians. Let's give them some money, compensation. Instead, they send it to Pakistan. How do you feel about that?
I think the thing for us is that we're not even bothered about the compensation side of it. We're bothered about, all we wanted was a listening ear. All we wanted was support. We went through the worst time possible. All we wanted was help. Yet you're watching our government that, they have a duty to protect us. You're watching them go and blast 19 million on somewhere that's respectfully nothing to do with us. So then we're looking thinking, like, Christ, I only asked you for an ear. Yeah. What's going on?
I mean, are you feeling sort of abandoned all over again?
Yeah, I think it's the feeling of abandonment and it's the feeling of injustice and failure yet again. It's it sounds sad, but it gets to a point where we're used to it. We just think, oh, not again. What do we do now to get listened to? Like, it's not a nice feeling to feel unimportant, especially by people that are meant to look after you. They've got a duty to protect the country, and our girls and boys that have been subjected to gang rapes by rape gangs, you know, they should be a priority. And at the minute, it's not. It's another country. And like I say, I'm so sorry for the people that have gone through it over there. I really am. But we've got a duty to protect our own first.
I couldn't agree with you more. Well, listen, Ellie, the only good thing about all this is that the victims of this terrible scourge, this terrible scandal, have got people like you to talk for them, because you put your case brilliantly, and I'm proud to know you, and I'm proud that you've become a friend of mine. So, Ellie, thank you for joining us. Ellie Reynolds there, rape gang victim. Hell of a woman, I mean it. Right, let's go to, well, let me know what you think about some of the things she was saying. They're being abandoned again, aren't they? It's just so disgraceful. This rape gang inquiry, when's it going to happen? You know, they're trying to get back into... They've resigned in fury because, well, Jess Phillips said they didn't do that, but the girls resigned because they felt... and they should know what they're talking about, that the government was trying to widen the remit of the inquiry so that we didn't focus on the ethnicity, the religious background of the perpetrators, of most of the perpetrators, who were Muslim men of Pakistani heritage. Not all of them, but the majority of them. And the government didn't want to focus on them because the government wants the Muslim vote. It's as simple as that. And now it just seems that they're kicking the can down the road. They don't really want this inquiry. They never did. Don't forget, they tried to get away with a few local inquiries. And then came the Casey report, and they had to go, all right, there'll be a national inquiry. And ever since then, nothing. Can't even find anyone to be the chairperson of this inquiry. Might happen next year if we're lucky. Those girls are being abandoned and betrayed again, don't you think? 0344 499 1000. Let's go to break, and when we come back, we'll talk about that nonsense, that absolute shambles, that farce over in Brazil, COP30, where 50,000 hypocrites fly in from all over the world to try and save the planet. You know, environmental, green. Well, how come you turned up by planet-destroying jets then? I mean, it's a joke. I mean, people are losing interest in this whole event, but it's still wasting a lot of taxpayers' money all over the world. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned.
In terms of your question around taxes, there are no additional tax rises needed beyond the ones that I've set out. Don't need to increase taxes.
I'm not coming back with more borrowing or more taxes. I will not increase your national insurance. I will not increase your VAT, and I will not increase your income tax.
We don't need to come back for more. We've done that now. We've wiped the slate clean.
The economic circumstances have declined, deteriorated since a year ago. We are having to look at taxes and spending.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
The funniest thing about these COPs, these idiot, ridiculous kind of gatherings where people fly in from all over the world in private jets and passenger jets, to talk about saving the planet, virtue signaling, slapping each other's backs, is the rest of us, the whole world, is clearly losing interest. The nonsense in Brazil hasn't exactly garnered too many column inches. Starmer, of course, Ed Miliband, 462 British delegates flying in, cost of £4 million to us taxpayers, using up so many carbon emissions, the equivalent of flying to Paris and back 23,000 times. Just absolutely bizarre hypocrisy on an epic scale. Guess what? Today or yesterday, dozens of indigenous protesters in Brazil stormed the COP30 summit, demanding greater protection for forests. And well, they might, because in order to stage this festival, this carnival of hypocrisy, they sawed down, they chopped down thousands of acres of rainforest to build a 4-lane highway so that all the delegates could get from Belém Airport to the conference centre without getting stuck in traffic. They destroyed loads of Amazon rainforest to build a 4-lane highway. Today, dozens of indigenous protesters brandishing batons stormed the summit, demanding greater protection for forests. You can see where they're coming from. Let's bring in the environment editor of the Daily Sceptic, Chris Morrison. Welcome, Chris. Always a pleasure. Before we start, let's have a look at our indigenous protesters. Well, Chris, I think that really puts these self-satisfied, smug Westerners in their place. And these people are saying, they're talking about the delegates at this ridiculous event. They cannot decide for us without us. Our land is not for sale. So that's the smug Westerners and people from all over the world being put in their place by people who have witnessed their own environment being destroyed for the very purpose of staging this ludicrous COP30 event.
Yeah, evening, Kev. Yes, it's been called the clear-cut COP because they've clear-cut 8-mile highway through the forest in order from the airport to the conference so that the delegates can speed their way. And there was a minister today saying that, yes, we've done this in order to bring the attention of all these delegates, these 50,000 clowns, to bring attention to the world about the declining rainforest. So you just can't make this stuff up. It's even worse than that. We had a story in the Daily Sceptic a couple of days ago. 50% of balsa wood. Balsa wood is an important part of the core of wind turbine blades. It's about 7%. It's very lightweight, but it's very strong. 50% of it is now being illegally logged in the Ecuadorian and Peruvian rainforests. And the reason for this is, such as the demand recently for wind turbines over the last 5 years, balsa is actually a fairly sustainable tropical wood. It grows quite quickly, and it was always grown in plantations. But such is the demand, the plantations have all been used up. And so they're having to go into the rainforest, and they're disturbing all of these tribes who are possibly complaining here at COP. Wherever you look, it's a disaster. Of course, we've got Miliband, who loves the thing so much that he's going back twice.
Yeah, I'm just reading this. I was about to put that to you. So our hero, net zero, nut zero nutter, crazy Ed Miliband, our net zero secretary, cabinet secretary, is so keen on COP30 that he went there once on a 12,000-mile trip. So he went, came back, and now he flew back again.
Yeah.
So he's done the journey twice. That's disgusting.
But he went the first time to swank around with Prince of Wales and some of the top knobs like that, and now he's going back. Well, who knows why he's going back? I'm surprised he can has got time. I would have thought he's busy on knife sharpening duties back in Britain.
I think that's hovering in the background for old Ed. Yes, he's ready to plunge the blade into Keir Starmer's back. Of course, Starmer went there as well. Are they anywhere near achieving even anything at COP30? What's it actually for? What's the idea of it? I seem to remember when they were in Azerbaijan last year, they came up with some pledge about let's make the world a safer place by, the year 3047 or something. What is it for? What are they all talking about?
Well, what they're doing this year is they're trying to raise the dough. So they're trying to get this $1 trillion fund in order to give it to people in the developing world who are supposedly affected by climate change.
Would that be like those guys who stormed COP30? People like them?
Also, I'm thinking of all the Pacific Islanders. Their head of states always come. They're very keen on it, because they say that they'll disappear beneath the waves and need large amounts of our money. In fact, most Pacific Islands, if you look at the geographers, what they say, they're increasing in size. Things like the Maldives have now got 12 airports, even though 20 years ago they were supposed to be disappearing beneath the waves. So it's really a sort of money grab. 50,000 people there. But I was seeing one reporter was talking about the Chinese. Although the Chinese leader hasn't gone, the Chinese are being sort of feted because they basically are making all of these wind turbines and cars and EVs.
Using coal-fueled power stations.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So there was a stand where the Chinese were talking about world climate governance. Mainly by the Chinese, and mainly because all your cheap wind turbines, which are actually, as I say, using up balsa wood from the tropical rainforest, are all being made cheaply by us. And using 2 new coal power stations a week to do it.
Yeah, I mean that's it. I hear these climate lefties keep going on about, well, you're much maligning China. China is making great strides to reduce its carbon emissions, and I go, yeah, so it's got 1,100 coal-fueled power stations, and it's building 300 more. It's not exactly overwhelming, is it, China's efforts to reduce its carbon emissions? They don't give a damn about it. Nor does Russia, nor does India, nor does Brazil. Australia's no slouch, by the way. America pays a lot of lip service to it, but they are all, well, not less so under Donald Trump, I suppose. They're all kicking out the carbon emissions. They don't really care, but we, because of crazy Ed Miliband and his gang, we sort of devote our entire existences to making the world a less polluted place. It's ridiculous.
Well, the eminent MIT emeritus professor, Richard Lindzen, has said that the climate narrative is absurd, but trillions of dollars says it's not absurd. And pretty well sums it up. And Lindsam was recently talking about how the UK is, I think I said it on your programme actually, is the canary in the coal mine now. We are the main country now heading for disaster on net zero. You're talking about America. In America, it's dead and buried. It's completely, he's kicked 10 bells out of it. You see people like Gates, who, and this is interesting because a few years ago, he was one of the big doomsayers. He was on the Greta level of doomsaying.
Yeah.
He was on the BBC reading his book out, we're all going to die, all this sort of thing. Now he's saying that, perhaps it's not so much of a problem. Silicon Valley, all the wokies from Silicon Valley with all their silly fact checks at Meta and all these sorts of people, they've all gone MAGA. And the reason is quite simple, because AI is going to have an enormous effect on the industrial societies going forward. And AI needs a huge amount
massive power user, isn't it?
Ain't going to get it from wind and solar.
Quick last word from you, Chris. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. I do detect, though, that this COP30, there's been a sort of profound lack of interest in it around the world, probably partly because of what you're talking about. So many more nations led by America are saying, sod all this, it's a waste of space, let's not bother. So COP30 has unfolded almost in a sort of news vacuum, and until these wonderful indigenous people invaded it, it barely made a column inch. Much less interest in this nonsense this time around.
I think it's been fading, actually, because I've covered it 4 or 5 years now. The one in Glasgow with Boris making a complete clown of himself. The world was agog, and I'm surprised Greta didn't give a speech. Prince Charles was there and all that sort of thing. It was the high point. The high point of the virtue, the high point of we can sort of say how we're going to save the planet, because it's not actually costing us anything at the moment. Now people are realising it's going to cost us a packet, it's going to lead to societal collapse, economic collapse. It doesn't work. Net zero is a complete fool's errand. The wind turbines are just not the way that you can power an industrial economy. People have worked it out. You're starting to get blackouts as you have in Spain. People are worried about that here. I think, though, that there's a danger, and I go back to what I was saying about Miliband. Miliband, I think, if Starmer has got rid of, Miliband may well become Prime Minister because he has got the enormous support of the Labour Party. 80 of these Labour Party members voted, or were going to vote, for the Climate and Nature Bill, the private bill, earlier in the year, which would have cut hydrocarbon use to 10% of all domestic use and foreign use. That would have led to almost immediate a society collapse. So who are they going to vote for when they get a chance? I mean, one can almost say, one hopes that Starmer keeps going because Miliband, I think, is very likely he will take over, and we will be a real outlier. We will be the canary in the coal mine for net zero for the whole world.
Well, we started the show a couple of hours ago with just that story, saying, well, you thought Starmer was bad. Careful, you ain't seen nothing yet. The likely successor would be Ed Miliband, and that doesn't bear thinking about. And you talk about Britain being the canary in the coal mine. We would be, under Ed Miliband, the stone-dead canary in a coal mine. Really frightening times, but great to talk to you as always, Chris. Chris Morrison there, environment editor at the Daily Skeptic. Next up, Graham Linehan, the creator and the writer of Father Ted and the IT Crowd, other great comedies. He's going to join us because, of course, he's a long-term campaigner on trans issues. And we're going to talk about the BBC, because we've been talking a lot about its kind of biased Gaza reporting, its anti-Israel reporting, its anti-Trump reporting. It's also been very, very biased when it comes to trans issues. We'll talk to Graham about that next. Stay tuned.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to my next guest. He's the brilliant writer of Father Ted, the IT Crowd, and many other brilliant comedies. A man who's suffered greatly for his belief in, well, female rights, really, women's rights. He's been at war with the trans lobby, the extreme trans lobby. Welcome back to the show to Graham Linehan. Hi, Graham.
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
I'm very well. Now, in a little while, I want to talk to you about how the fear of men in women's changing rooms is actually rising. This revolves around that case by the Darlington nurses, the Darlington Five, who are suing their local health authority because they were forced to share their safe women's space with a bloke in a pair of holey boxer shorts pretending to be a woman. We'll get to that in a second. But, you know, the big story of the week, Graham, as you know, is the BBC. You know a lot about the BBC, obviously, having sort of written for them. They're on the rack because of biased reporting. They have definitely been biased about the Middle East. They've been biased against Israel and pro-Palestine. They've been biased against President Trump. We've seen what trouble that's got them in. But they also stand accused, and for a long time, being very biased when it comes to trans and LGBTQ stories. They have an LGBT desk, which apparently is full of very young, mainly female reporters who doctor what kind of stories the BBC is allowed to do. Now, the BBC, whilst it won't actually say it right now, is full of people and full of journalists who believe that if a bloke puts on a dress and says, I identify as a woman, that bloke is a woman. That kind of ideology still prevails at the BBC. In terms of your campaign and what you've been through, do you feel that the BBC has not helped your situation at all?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the BBC has behaved abominably in this debate. I mean, the air still hasn't cleared, and they're all still in denial. You know, people like Alistair Campbell and all these people are obsessed with pinning all the blame of this on Trump. But the truth is that, like, half the population have seen their rights being destroyed, their children being targeted, and all sorts of other horrors. And the BBC has just pointedly ignored it for years. Like, I'll give you an example. There was a file, there was something released recently called the WPATH files. And the WPATH files are the WPATH is supposed to be the world standard for trans healthcare. And the WPATH files came out and they showed internal memos between all these people who are part of WPATH that they were insane. They were insane. They were talking about surgically transitioning homeless people. And they were worried. They were thinking, oh, maybe it'll be hard to clean the wound on the streets. You know, these are the kind of mad people who were making up the protocols that are now being followed all around the world. You know, and someone sent this to a guy in the BBC called Fergus Walsh, who's the BBC's medical editor, and they said he just didn't respond. And then when she went to find out more, she found out that he had blocked her email address. So not only were they not interested in breaking stories of huge importance to the people they pretend to care about, but they were actually suppressing these stories. So I think that it's a bigger scandal than people realize so far. I think when the bill starts coming in the cost of in terms of the cost to kids of stolen adolescence, stolen futures, stolen fertility, I think it's going to be, I really would like to see the BBC bosses who are behind it brought up in front of a select committee or something and asked, how they allowed it to happen, you know?
Yeah, well, a story came. I mean, the BBC basically stands accused of being a kind of banner waver for extreme trans issues, you know, for the promotion of the idea that men can become women, that women can become men. And just this week, somebody called Kath Ling, who is a former BBC editor, BBC journalist, she says she was forced out of the BBC, out of the state broadcaster, because of her gender-critical view. She questioned whether or not men could become women, quite rightly, of course, scientifically. Now, she said that she wanted to do stories about this, to sort of have a look at the trans issue. You know, what is this all about? Can a biological man become a biological woman? Of course, they can't. Why is it that so many people in society seem to want to believe that that nonsense is true? So when she would go to her editors with these stories, these suggestions of stories, she says she had to go via something called the Learning and Identity Desk. And this was full of young LGBT reporters who acted as kind of gatekeepers on these stories, and no story that would question trans ideology was ever allowed to get through these gatekeepers, to the extent that she came to be regarded as a sort of troublemaker. It's not unlike yourself, to be honest with you, and she felt she had to leave. So that's what seems to be what's been going on at the BBC. So it's our state broadcaster. I think I was discussing this last night. They created these sacred truths about Israel, about Trump, about climate change, and about trans issues, and then decided it was its role to impose their views, this kind of created truth, on us like propagandists.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what's interesting, and I always say this, is that they won the war without a shot being fired. You know, they didn't have to dress up in uniforms and march down the street. They didn't have to, physically threaten Jews, but they ended up doing that anyway. But basically the bureaucracy of this revolution was installed extremely quickly. And the way it was able to be installed extremely quickly is because we are all now connected to other people. We have our Facebook groups, we have our we have our colleagues at work, and basically it just took one or two of these colleagues in every workplace to completely spread this ideology, and they act as enforcers within each company, making sure that no one steps out of line. And you can see that it happens that these women are coming up against these people. The Darlington nurses you mentioned, Sandy Peggy. There's a new case in Northern Ireland with the Belfast Film Festival, who behaved disgracefully towards a girl when she made a woman, when she made a speech at a Let Women Speak event. You know, all of these kind of different arenas have these kind of bullies. And what happened with the BBC, because the BBC is such a bureaucracy, anyway, this bureaucracy of bullies fit right in there, you know?
Yeah, and this Kath Ling, the BBC journalist who felt she had to leave, one of the problems she got into, do you remember the sex change soldier Chelsea Manning, who was a bloke and then decided he was a woman? She got in trouble for referring to Chelsea Manning as he, and she was told that using pronouns for that soldier, who was born male, contravened the BBC style guide because she was factually a woman. This is a bloke. Chelsea Manning was not a she and was not a woman. Kath Ling got into big trouble for having the temerity to suggest that this bloke was a bloke. That's the BBC for you, right?
It is, and you got to remember as well, the BBC is still considered, like I've realised that the BBC is not what it claimed to be when I was interviewed by Newsnight in 2014, I think it was. No, sorry, 2016, something like that, or 2019, and I was trying to tell them about the Tavistock and WPATH and all this sort of stuff, and they just basically berated me for 5 minutes, and they made sure that I could only speak in clipped sound bites. you know, so there was always a kind of a an attempt to control the conversation at all points to make sure that nothing came through, that no opposing voice came through, and that lying by omission is what they also do with Hamas and other hot button issues, you know, like climate change.
Yeah.
They basically, you know, they have an agreed upon line, which is the left wing line. They also agree with a form of left wing thought that is very American. You know, it's basically all these things that have been completely exposed as frauds, like the BLM movement, which you know, all the leaders are now being arrested for.
Buy larger mansions. That's what BLM stands for.
Exactly, you know, and so it's basically that got fashionable in America. And of course, the first people to be very influenced by fashion are people who work in media, you know? So the BBC loved this, and they loved imposing it on the world. And the problem with it is that it's not a harmless thing. When they first brought out the TV show I Am Leo, referrals to the Tavistock shot up the next day. And so if you're like, or sorry, next period, I'm not sure if it was within the day, but it was within the next period.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like someone's got to account for that. Someone's got to actually say, I'm sorry we tricked so many children into transitioning.
Absolutely.
Because that's what they did.
Absolutely.
You know?
I live near the Tavistock Clinic. You know what locals always called it? Frankenstein's Castle, where children went to be physically operated upon. It was a really sinister place, if you ask me. But listen, to sum up really, Graham, here, what you're saying, I think, points to the BBC, our path towards a more common sense approach to people who want to identify as the opposite sex. In other words, if you want to say you're a woman, fine, just don't tell me to believe you're a woman. Our path towards that common sense, I think, has been hindered by the state broadcast of the BBC, which is busy admonishing its staff, telling its staff off for suggesting that a bloke who calls himself a woman is actually a bloke. So the BBC has not helped in, I guess, what you might call your struggle.
No, definitely not. Like, you know, I mean, for the last 10 years, I've been sort of successfully painted as a you know, some sort of David Icke figure by the BBC and other broadcasters and other you know, sources of information. I have to say they tend to be legacy sources of information, like you know, they tend to be part of the old, what we would call old media, and it's really interesting to see, Kevin, that like even as the BBC is sinking, all these people are on board, like the news agents and Alistair Campbell and Lewis Goodall, and they're basically, the Titanic is sinking, and they're all kind of trying to blame anything but the iceberg.
Right-wing extremists that are desperate to undermine the BBC. It's like no BBC. Go on.
Do you know what they do as well, Kevin? That really annoys me. You know, like you end up saying things to these people like, no, lesbians don't have a penis. You know.
Yeah.
And what they do is then they'll go, listen to this conversation. What are you saying? This is a crazy thing to say. And I say, we didn't say it. You're saying it, and you're making us argue about it because it's harmful to women and children, and you're refusing to give up the point. You know,
exactly right. The BBC worries that people like you and I and what they call the forces of the right are desperately trying to undermine the state broadcaster, desperately trying to undermine the BBC. It is the BBC that is successfully undermining itself with this nonsense that we've been talking about. Graham, a pleasure to have you on the show as always. Come on again soon. Graham Linehan there, the creator, writer of Father Ted, the IT Crowd and other great comedies. You know, it's saying that it's not just Israel, it's not just the Middle East or Trump that the BBC has been inherently biased about for many years. It's trans issues. It's LGBT issues, these gatekeepers. You can't do that. You can't call that bloke a bloke, even though he's a bloke. No, he identifies as a woman. You've got to call it she. All this nonsense. 0344 499 1000. Let's squeeze in a call when we come back. Stay where you are.
In terms of your question around taxes, there are no additional tax rises needed beyond the ones that I've set out.
Don't need to increase taxes. I'm not coming back with more borrowing or more taxes. I will not increase your national insurance. I will not increase your VAT, and I will not increase your income tax.
We don't need to come back for more. We've done that now. We've wiped the slate clean.
The economic circumstances have declined, deteriorated since a year ago. We are having to look at taxes and spending.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Get on the phone. Let me know what you think about some of the stories we've been discussing. I mean, obviously the BBC debacle continues apace. What do you think about the way they're handling this? Because let's face it, they're handling it so badly that it's almost certain now that Donald Trump will take them to the cleaners. He's going to take them for, well, he's suing them for $1 billion. But they're being so pompous and stubborn, and they won't say sorry, or they haven't said sorry. They're not being conciliatory. They're saying, oh, we haven't really damaged you at all. Well, that's going to cost us a lot of money. It's going to cost the BBC and licence fee payers a lot of money. 03444991 1000. Also, the great rape gang scandal. We spoke to Ellie Reynolds, one of the victims. Why are we sending £19 million to Pakistan for Pakistan to deal with its own child sex exploitation problem when we're not really dealing with our own? When is that inquiry going to happen? Let me know what you think about that. 03444991000. So keep the calls coming in, and the one in one out. The migrant crisis continues apace. More migrants coming across the channel as opposed to fewer. Keir Starmer seals a deal with Macron for the gendarmes, the Paris, or the French police, to stop the migrants out at sea. They're not doing it. More and more of them are coming across. 0344 499 1000. Also, trans issues at the BBC. Do you think the people at the BBC still think that if a bloke puts on a dress, he's a woman? When is it going to get with the programme? 0344 499 1000. Get on the phone, let me know what you think. Let's go over to Stephen in Birmingham. Hi, Steve. You want to talk about stolen tools?
Yes, thank you for taking the call. I wanted to ask you a question, really. I see no legitimate reason why anybody would be selling a huge quantity of power tools, because a tradesman would either keep them if he's retired, maybe to do odd jobs around the house, or he'd sell them through a legitimate source. What possible reasons for someone to be selling 20, 30 power drills at once?
Well, because they've nicked them and people can buy them on the cheap. They make money, so they've got them for free by stealing them. They sell them at a knockdown price. Everybody's happy, apart from the original owners, of course.
Yes, I mean, if I was the organiser of a car boot, I'd be suspicious about bulk items of anything. If somebody had 20 toasters there or 20 Blu-ray players, I'd be thinking, why have you got 20 Blu-ray players?
I think, Steve, that's the point that Robert Jenrick's trying to make, is it's so obvious. You know, there's all these power tools and it's so obvious that they've all been stolen, and yet the people flogging them, the car boot sales, insist they haven't been. But the theft of tools from the back of poor workmen's vans is a real scourge, a real problem in this country.
It is. I mean, I think you can apply it to anything. I mean, if you was a car boot and I was running a stall, and let's say there were 100 Coca-Cola cans, loose cans, wouldn't you think maybe I'd stolen them from a corner shop or something?
Yeah, I know, but, you know, this is what happens, though. There's a whole black market out there, and a lot of people are making a lot of money out of people's miseries, the victims of these thefts. And Robert Jenrick's onto something there. Steve, good to talk to you. Thank you very much for your call. Stephen in Birmingham there. Get on the phone, call me for all the issues we've been talking about. 0344 499 1000. What are we going to do about the rape gang inquiry? When is it going to happen? 0344 499 1000. The BBC, come on. Why doesn't it get its act together? Why doesn't it admit it was wrong? Say sorry to Donald Trump, save a lot of money. 0344 499 1000. Come back after the news. We're going to talk about Prince Andrew. Stay tuned.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Keep the calls coming in. I'm going to take calls in about 20 minutes or so. 03444991000. Where is our rape gang inquiry? You heard victim Ellie Reynolds earlier saying that she tried to get a meeting with Keir Starmer only last week, completely ignored. She's one of the girls who resigned from the panel, the victims panel, on the public inquiry because they don't like what the government's trying to do. They say they're trying to widen the remit so the finger of blame is not pointed at these Muslim men of Pakistani origin. The girls don't like that. They resigned. Now they try to get back in touch with the Prime Minister and say, come on, let's try and sort this out. Let's get this much needed public inquiry going. I haven't heard a thing. Ellie says has constantly been ignored by the alleged safeguarding minister, Jess Phillips. What's going on with that? 03444991000. And bear in mind, everybody knows the rape gang scandal, the scourge of men preying on vulnerable young girls, many of them underage. It's not over, it's happening, including in London. Again, we don't seem to be doing anything about it. 03444991000. Why send £19 million to Pakistan to help Pakistan with its child sex exploitation problem when we don't seem to be doing much about our own? 03444991000. Now, let's discuss Epstein. Let's discuss what's going on over there in Washington. New emails appear to suggest that Donald Trump, the president, spent, this is an allegation which he firmly denies, spent hours with one of Jeffrey Epstein's victims. The president, Donald Trump, has put on Truth Social, this is fake news designed to make him look bad, and so on and so forth, but also brings into sharp focus more and more news emerging of Andrew Mountbatten's Windsor's involvement in all of this, with in these emails paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, who's now of course dead, appearing to confirm that the famous photo of Virginia Giuffre with the then Prince Andrew is real, and claiming that several of his staff had their picture taken with the former Duke. So Andrew being sucked more and more into this, Congress demanding that he appears before them to talk about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and to find out what he knew about Jeffrey Epstein, because over there in America they're trying to look into the plight of the poor women that were used and abused by Jeffrey Epstein. And they believe that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, as he is now, could help. He's got until November the 20th to make his mind up, but looks as if he doesn't want to do it. But we understand he's under intense pressure to tell Congress what he knows. Let's talk to historian, royal expert, Rafe Heidel-Manku. Welcome, Rafe.
Always a pleasure, Kevin.
Well, look, let's get on to Trump in just a minute. Let's talk about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the Andrew formerly known as Prince. Now, last week, towards the end of last week, it emerged that the American Congress, US Congress, had requested for the former Prince to appear before them in terms of their inquiry into Epstein's evil web of tyranny for poor young women, sexual abuse. That's what they're talking about. They want Andrew to testify in terms of his relationship with Epstein, his obvious friendship with Epstein, but I think more than anything to testify about what he knew. They're trying to get to the truth about the extent of Epstein's evil web and the crimes he committed. Now, what is interesting about this is it was immediately put forward, oh no, Andrew won't go, which is bad in itself. But we understand now that members of the royal family are putting him under intense pressure to do his bit, to be honest with Congress and to talk about this, because certain members of the royal family, particularly Queen Camilla, are very committed to helping the victims of sexual abuse, particularly child sexual abuse. And they feel that Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor's failure to cooperate with this inquiry over in Washington will completely undermine the good work they try to do. So there's an interesting standoff going on in the royal family right now.
You're absolutely right, and one would hope that Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor would see that perhaps he now has some opportunity to redeem himself ever so slightly in the public eye by actually cooperating with the authorities and telling them what he knows, helping to build that fuller picture that they try to develop with regards to what Epstein actually got up to. And as you say, it does still, despite everything that has befallen him, and despite the fact that he now lives in effective exile, he continues to cast a shadow over the work of the monarchy. As you say, the Queen is very, very involved in issues dealing with domestic abuse, sexual violence, all of those sorts of things. Very telling, of course, that Andrew never made any statements expressing any sympathy for the victims. Never once in all of this time has he done that, and yet their Majesties did do that together in their last statement on this, the final paragraph. They expressed their sympathy. That, I think, was deliberately done to admonish Andrew as well. Look, there is no legal power that the American Congress has to compel Andrew to attend. I suspect Andrew thinks that it will be potentially hazardous for him to attend in America, certainly, because not only could he could be prosecuted for perjury if any part of his testimony was false, and his presence in America would open him up for investigation or arrest. But they've even offered him the ability to do it online via Zoom in some capacity. So he does have that option too. So I don't see how he can escape the. Well, if he does claim, if he is a gentleman and he likes to claim, as he has claimed in his BBC Newsnight interview, you would think he would go in for that.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, the Zoom option is at the heart of this. There's all sorts of problems that he could experience if he actually flies to Washington. But by Zoom, he has the opportunity to prove that there is still a scintilla of decency about him. Because they're not actually saying, come on, Andrew, we know you got up to no good. What they're saying is, we're trying to find out exactly what Epstein got up to, the extent of his evil web, because we know that many young women were sexually abused and used, and that this was a terrible, terrible thing. And there are obviously a lot of powerful men allegedly involved. So they're not necessarily saying, right, we're going to get you. They're saying, we just want to know what you know. So he's got this opportunity via Zoom to do the decent thing. And I think that's why he's under pressure from the rest of the royal family to say, for God's sake, do the decent thing. When you settled with Virginia Giuffre those years ago for 12 million quid, not to go to court, not to take you to court accusing you of sexually abusing her on 3 different continents when she was 17 years old, when you refused, when you gave her that money, in that statement you said that you would step down from royal duties and also devote your time to trying to help the victims of sexual abuse. That has not happened at all. He's got the chance now, as I say, for once in his rotten life to do the decent thing. That's what the Queen wants him to do. That's what his brother the King wants him to do. That's what Prince William wants him to do. I mean, do you think that just maybe he might see the light? I mean, he's indicating so far no, but he's got until November the 20th to decide. Intense pressure. How do you think it will play out?
Well, this is really the test of the man, I would say. When a man is stripped of all his honours, all his titles, everything else, he has nothing, no shred of dignity coming from outside. Everything now is about what he can present to the world of himself. And he should take inspiration from people like John Profumo. You remember the John Profumo scandal with Christine Keeler in the 60s. Nowhere near as terrible as these allegations, but he resigned from the cabinet over that sex scandal, and he lived the rest of his life doing good works and charity. Same thing with Jonathan Aitken, former Conservative minister who went to prison, but when he was released, devoted the rest of his time to the Christian church and religion and so forth. You know, it's at this point that you would hope he would see the light and have a Damascene conversion moment and turn his life to good works of some variety. He did commit himself to doing what he can to focus on the issues of sexual violence and the exploitation of women. Not one jot or tittle has he done towards any of that. This could be some way of doing that, particularly now because this latest release of Epstein files, we've already found out, of course, that he lied about when he broke off contact with Epstein. That was one of the reasons that he lost his dukedom and so forth. But now, with his latest revelations, there's a strong suggestion that he lied about not knowing Jeffrey, because Epstein seems to confirm in these latest emails that have been released that the photograph was legitimate. Epstein says, yeah, Virginia Giuffre had her picture taken with the Duke, along with many other of my employees who also had a picture taken with the Duke. Now, has to be said, Epstein doesn't suggest anything untoward happened, and in those same emails, Prince Andrew to Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein also says, you know, I wasn't involved in any capacity, but and Epstein calls Giuffre a fraud and a liar. But he also says at one point, when the press are having their inquiry, Andrew reaches out to Epstein and says, how do you plan to respond to the press inquiry about Virginia Giuffre? And Epstein replies, I'm not sure how to respond. The only person she didn't have sex with was Elvis. He didn't say Elvis and you, he said Elvis.
Unbelievable.
So, I think...
yeah, I mean, he does have a chance to redeem himself here. I would really hope for his sake he does. He's got until November the 20th, but I wouldn't bet the house on him actually doing the decent thing for once in his rotten life. What about still with the Epstein files? You know, more files released today suggesting that Donald Trump had a closer relationship with Jeffrey Epstein than he likes to make out. Alleging, the latest releases alleging that Donald Trump knew all about Epstein's illegal conduct. Now, on Truth Social today, his social media site, Trump has said, he's written, the Democrats are trying to bring up the Jeffrey Epstein hoax again because they'll do anything at all to deflect on how badly they've done on the shutdown, that's the government shutdown, and so many other subjects. Only a very bad or stupid Republican would fall into that trap. The Democrats cost their blah, blah, blah. There should be no deflections to Epstein or anything else, and any Republicans involved should be focused only on opening up our country and fixing the massive damage caused by the Democrats. So once again, Rafe, he's basically saying that all attempts to connect him closely with Jeffrey Epstein, you know, to in some way be complicit in some of his crimes, or to at least have known about some of his crimes. Worth stressing, by the way, Donald Trump has never got onto that Lolita Express private jet to go down to Pedo Island. But Donald Trump saying all these attempts to connect him, all these Epstein file revelations are fake news. I mean, what are your feelings about that?
Well, it's very interesting. I think there's an argument on both sides here, actually. So, so the Democrats released these emails, and curiously, they redacted the name of the victim that Donald Trump is supposed to have spent several hours with. So once those emails were released, Trump's side, the Republicans, they released the name. And who is the person that Donald Trump is supposed to have spent time with for hours? Virginia Giuffre. Now that actually speaks volumes, because why did the Democrats hide that name? Could it be because, of course, Virginia Giuffre in 2016 said that she was never abused by Donald Trump? that Donald Trump was not involved in any way with her whatsoever. That's why the Republicans exposed the name. So in a certain sense, that email actually exonerates Trump to a degree, because of all the potential people, we now have a statement from this person who is now unfortunately dead, so can no longer speak again about what happened there. But as for it being a hoax, obviously the emails from Epstein suggest that Donald Trump certainly was present with some of these, well, one of these girls at least. But again, he's never been connected with anything untoward, anything of that variety whatsoever. Yes, Epstein does say that he knew about the girls, but the problem with these emails is Epstein has such a terrible way of writing emails, terrible shorthand, ungrammatical.
He does,
it's really difficult to know what he's meaning. We know, of course, that Epstein was stealing girls from Mar-a-Lago, and that's one of the reasons claimed for the fallout, was that Donald Trump was annoyed that Epstein was taking girls from his club and employing them himself. So Trump could easily say, oh no, he's referring to that fact. He knew, I knew about the fact he was taking girls from my place to his place. And there's nothing concrete. There's no smoking gun in any of this.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt Trump, as we're seeing in the pictures here, Trump knew Jeffrey Epstein. We know also he did actually badly fall out with him. And unlike some of these other powerful men, these rich and famous men that Epstein sucked into his web, the Donald Trump never got onto that private jet and flew down to Pedo Island. So, you know, I think, you know, while he's got some kind of connection, I think that he's probably got a case when he says this is the Democrats just trying to whip up bad press about me. I think that Donald Trump actually, I don't want to sound too credulous, but I do think Donald Trump actually is sort of the victim of a political campaign by his opponents in the Democrats.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that. Although at the same time, you do have the birthday book in which Donald
there
Trump
was that. Well, they said that was a hoax.
Speaks about your secrets, your little secrets, or whatever he said in those terms. So, I mean, it's such a confusing and perplexing situation. Nobody really, I suppose, will ever get to the truth unless some other tranche of information comes out at any point. Peter Mandelson as well, named in these emails too. Turns out he was still corresponding with Epstein 8 years after Epstein was sentenced for soliciting for prostitution. Epstein emailed him on his birthday. They had a whole exchange, and apparently Mandelson had told him to steer clear of Prince Andrew, of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, for his own sake. And Epstein says, yes, it was a good idea to steer clear of Andrew.
Indeed, and don't forget, Donald Trump does actually deny that he drew that picture and sent that message in Epstein's birthday book, says that's a fake news item as well, that's a hoax. Last question to you, Rafe, because you're an expert on these matters. We've stripped, or Britain and the King have successfully stripped Andrew of all his titles, his even his right to call himself Prince, because of his connection to Jeffrey Epstein, because of his continued close friendship with a convicted paedophile. Is it possible that we could strip Peter Mandelson of his peerage because of his continued close friendship with a convicted paedophile for the same reason? Can we do that?
Well, technically, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor still is the Duke of York. He's been stripped from the role of the peerage by the King, but in law, the King doesn't have the right to take away a peerage title because it's a form of property. It's called incorporeal hereditament. And the King is a long-standing part of British law. The King cannot deprive you of your property. So even though he's not allowed to use the title in any way, and he essentially doesn't have it, he actually still is. He's actually His Grace the Duke of York, if you want to be really technical about it, rather than His Royal Highness. And the same goes for Peter Mandelson. Only Parliament can take away a peerage title, be it a dukedom or be it this peerage title of Lord or Baron, which Peter Mandelson has. And so it will just require Parliament essentially to pass legislation. Needn't take that long. It could be done in a few hours because presumably no one's going to object or vote against.
No, exactly right.
I would presume. So it could be done. And it's just a question of priorities, I suppose.
Rafe, fantastic to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. Rafe Heidel-Mancu there, historian, royal expert there. Andrew, Prince Andrew, He's got this chance to do the decent thing. As I say, he doesn't have to go to America, doesn't have to go to Washington. He can do it by Zoom. The Congress are not saying, you know, we're going to nick you, we're going to accuse you. They're saying, we just want your help. We want to find out what this guy Epstein got up to, the extent of his crimes. Can you help us? Please help us. You've got until November the 20th. So should Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, should he say yes? Should he do that? 0344 499 1000. Let's go to break. When we come back, I'll read some of your messages, take your calls. Get on the line, let me know what you think. I'm particularly interested in what you think about the ongoing problems with the BBC. Are the BBC digging an ever deeper hole for themselves in terms of this legal action by the President of the United States of America, suing for $1 billion, them getting all bumptious and saying, right, we're going to fight this, we're not going to give him a penny, you know, we're going to say we didn't meaningfully harm him when we deliberately told lies about him. Is that a mad strategy by the BBC? 0344 499 1000. And why have we given £19 million to Pakistan so that Pakistan can help to deal with its own child sex abuse problem when we can't even get an inquiry, a public inquiry together to look into the massive child sex problem we had in this country, the rape gang scandal, which, by the way, everybody knows is still going on. 0344 499 1000. Get on the phone, let's talk. It's good to talk on Talk. Let's go to break, back in a minute.
In terms of your question around taxes, there are no additional tax rises needed beyond the ones that I've set out.
Don't need to increase taxes. I'm not coming back with more borrowing or more taxes. I will not increase your national insurance. I will not increase your VAT, and I will not increase your income tax.
We don't need to come back for more. We've done that now. We've wiped the slate clean.
The economic circumstances have declined, deteriorated since a year ago. We are having to look at taxes and spending.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
I also almost forgot one more subject you might want to give me a ring on is, will Keir Starmer be gone by Christmas? There is right now, as we talk, a massive coup going on in Westminster. The forces of the left, various opponents trying to unseat Keir Starmer to get rid of him, Labour people, because they know what a disaster he is. It could mean we end up with Ed Miliband as our Prime Minister. Please shoot me now. Unbelievable. Or even Angela Rayner. It may be the dreaded 1-2, Prime Minister Miliband, Deputy Prime Minister Rayner. Oh my God. As I say, you thought Starmer was bad, you ain't seen nothing left. So let me know what you think about that if you like. 0344 499 1000. We'll get to the calls in just a little while, but first WhatsApp voice notes, got a few piling in. This is Dave on that very Labour coup.
Labour government are plotting against Keir Starmer for a coup to get him out. They're missing the point. We do not want Labour in. The whole lot of them need to go. We don't want them. We want a new party for the people, by the people. We don't want them. We don't want Conservative. We don't want any of them. We don't want Greens, Liberal, any of them. None of them.
Well, Dave, I'm with you all the way, except for how do we get rid of them? Of course we don't want, well, most of us don't want Labour, but they're in. This country made a democratic decision, a mad, wrong decision, but they made the decision, which means with a bit of bad luck, we're saddled with them until 2029. I don't think Starmer's going to make that in a month of Sundays. So I sympathise, Dave, but in your dreams, we're stuck with them. Let's go to the phones. Oh, it's Georgina in London. Hello, Georgina. What would you like to say?
Hello, Kevin. Well, I've rang up to talk about Prince Andrew, but first, I'd just like to say I think Keir Starmer will be gone by the end of the month. They got him by default, by the way, because there was no other party to vote for. And as long as it's not David Lammy, because we couldn't get any worse than that. But I'm just thinking about Prince Andrew. There's an old saying that there's no variation on the truth. He's been caught out in a big, fat lie, as it is. There's a lot more to come out, Kevin, I'm telling you now. I think the royal family are aware of that, and that is why they want to get him off the scene as quickly as possible, because, I mean, obviously we don't know what's going to come out, but from the lies he's already told, I would think that it's not good. I mean, we're talking about all these little girls in Britain who've been abused by these men. But this is exactly what's been going on with Epstein, only on a higher class scale. Yeah. The fact that these guys are rich and powerful, I'm sorry, doesn't make any difference. These little girls have been abused, and I don't care if you're a billionaire or you're just a low life in Rochdale or whatever. If you're a man and you're doing that to a little girl or little boy, then I'm sorry, you are the scum of the earth, whether you're a prince or a pauper.
Couldn't agree more. That we must sort of stress that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, as he is now, continues to deny Virginia Giuffre's claims, allegations.
Well, maybe he does. Listen.
Well, nobody believes him, but I have to, for legal reasons, say that he denies.
For legal reasons, I understand.
I don't believe him. You don't believe him. Nobody believes him, but he sticks to his story, so we have to pay that lip service. Yeah.
Kevin, the man sat in front of the whole of this country, and he lied.
Yes, he did. You're right.
A lie is a lie. The truth is a truth. Now, I'm sorry. You can get behind a thief, but you can't get behind a liar. But the thing with lies is, the more lies you tell, the lies get bigger. And you've got to have a really good memory.
And let me ask you this, Georgina. You brought up an interesting point, because we do understand that Queen Camilla in particular is very keen for Andrew to do the decent thing and to testify to Congress, because she works very much with the victims of sexual abuse, and she feels that his refusal to cooperate would undermine the work that she does. But you've just brought out a very interesting point. Conversely, if he sits before Congress, you know what he's like. He'll probably start lying again, which would make matters even worse, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but the thing is, barristers, these lawyers in America, they know their job, and it will be the best lawyers who are questioning him. You can't get behind them. You can't get behind these people. They might even do a lie detector test on him, Kevin.
Well, I think if he does it at all, it will be via Zoom over here, so I don't think there'll be any of that. But I think he should do the decent thing, but the danger is the guy's an inveterate liar, so he may well lie again.
He's a liability. He's a liability.
He's that for damn sure. He's that for damn sure. Very good point, Georgina. By the way, what you were saying about Keir Starmer, a lot of people saying he might be gone by Christmas. Others, I might be part of this group, believe that Labour will wait until after the local elections in May because that's going to be disastrous for Labour. They'll get rid of him then and then install a new leader. But more and more people are thinking by Christmas.
Yeah, well, I watched him on PMQs today, and honestly, I mean, I never thought that I would actually feel sorry for Keir Starmer.
Did he look bad? I missed it. Sorry.
He looked really bad, and he was shaking. His hands were shaking. That man, I'm telling you. I mean, I know what a nervous breakdown looks like, you know, because my stepfather had one, so I know what it actually.
You think he's on
like.
You think he's looking like that?
I think he's on the verge of. Well, his hands were shaking, and when I say shaking, I mean.
He's under intense.
He's under a lot of pressure.
On a human level, I always feel sorry for anybody in that position. But
yeah, so do I, Kevin. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Listen, he's made a really bad job of being
exactly. He does sort of deserve it. It's his own fault because he's being useless.
Absolutely, but I would not wish nervous breakdowns and mental breakdowns on anyone. You know, he's a man at the end of the day. He's a crap Prime Minister, and honestly, I'd give him a verbal lashing if I ever met him. But I bet you would. Not wish that on him. I would.
Yeah, I know you would, Georgina. Georgina, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for another great call. Georgina in London. Let's listen to a WhatsApp voice note. This is Darren again on the Labour coup.
Evening, Kev. I mean, I might be living in hope here, but he's such a narcissist, I wouldn't put it past him. Let's just hope two-tier free gear never here turns around and says, OK, you want to get rid of me? I'm going to call a general election. Because he's safe in his seat in Islington. He'll keep his gravy train going. How good would that be if he just pulled the plug and the whole house of cards come crashing down? We're living out, mate.
We certainly do, Darren. Now, how good would that be? It'd be brilliant. Best Christmas present ever. But I can't see it. I can't see it. But they are genuinely believing it, or many people in Westminster think he could struggle to survive until Christmas. I think that would be a bad move by Labour. Not that I wish them well at all, but that would be politically not great. I think that would be getting rid of him too early because they're still going to do very badly at the May local elections. And if the new person is in charge, it will make it look like it's their fault. So they want Starmer to take the hit on the local elections, go, they were a disaster, we've got rid of the leader, we've got a new one now. But let's wait and see, shall we? I should read a couple of messages. This is from Kaz. How come the government believe child sexual exploitation is happening in Pakistan, yet some deny it's happening here? Really good point. So many of them seem to be rather diffident about whether or not it's still going on here, and yet it is. And yet they have no problem believing it's happening in Pakistan. What's that phrase? You know, get the plank out of your own eye before you move the splinter out of someone else's. This is Ernie here. Kev, it's not going to cost us licence payers anything. Talk about the BBC. We only make one-off payments. We don't have to pay a penny more. It's only going to cost the BBC and its workforce, and the government can't bail it out because that would be against the law to use taxpayers' money to pay an offender's liabilities. Well, it's a civil case, so yeah, they can't do that. I think what we're talking about, Ernie, is going forward. If they have to pay $1 billion, they'll have to put up the price of the licence fee and we'll have to pay it. So going forward, we may well foot the bill for an enormous libel defamation payout to Trump. However, I don't think it will be, I think it'll be big, but I don't think it'll be enormous. It won't be $1 billion. It never is. It never is. Here's... this is somebody saying about Isabel. She said, Isabel's right, the French government probably buy the migrants' dinghies. I'm not sure they go that far, but I know where you're coming from. This is Margaret in Birmingham. I think Donald Trump will sue the BBC, but he will probably settle for $1,000 just to teach them a lesson. He won't settle for $1,000. It'll be millions and millions of pounds. But what he will mostly want, Margaret, is a grovelling apology. And the BBC don't seem to be in the mood to give him that. So stand by for a protracted legal dispute and the humiliation of our already humiliated state broadcaster, the BBC. Margaret also says, I listen every night and love the show. Thank you, Margaret. Keep your messages coming in. Let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to Roy in Hampshire. Hello, Roy.
Hello, Kev, mate. Regarding the BBC, I think they ought to get on their bending knees and apologise to Trump. Because if they don't, mate, the money, if he does get any money, it's going to be our money. It's not their money. It belongs to you and me.
Yeah. But their attitude, right? I couldn't agree with you more. I think they should be conciliatory right now. They should be humble. They should be saying the truth. Someone somewhere here made a terrible, terrible mistake. It was not human error. It was not an error of judgment. It was the deliberate doctoring of this tape, this video of his January the 6th speech to make it look as if he incited the violence, as if he called for the assault on Capitol Hill. Fight, fight, fight. He did nothing of the sort. Nothing of the sort. So they need to admit that, and then they need to say sorry, and then say, look, please, look kindly upon us. But they're taking the attitude, Roy, no, you can't really, we didn't meaningfully damage him. We're not going to pay him a penny. I don't know whether they'll apologise by Friday. Let's wait and see.
Kevin, can I also say, mate, I'm going to be able to watch you after the end of the month, and just to say that I've enjoyed your shows over this past few years, and I shall miss you.
Why is that, Roy?
Well, I've only got a little bit on my phone, mate, and if I watched you, it would take all me off of my phone, so I wouldn't be able to watch it.
All right, mate. Well, look, keep tuning in. Give me till the end of the month. We'll have a proper chat about that. Roy, thank you for calling and thank you for your support. Let's go to Herbie in Harrow. Hi, Herbie.
Kevin, yeah, we've got another crisis, haven't we, with 19 million going to Pakistan. How the hell do we know where it's going to go? Forget about that. Put it in this country. We got desperate situations in this country, and this government keeps on paying out for other people's mistakes, but not our own. Isn't it ridiculous?
Yeah, well, don't forget, Herbie, this comes on the back of, was it 2 weeks ago we learned that we'd sent £111 million to Pakistan for contraception.
Yeah.
For Pakistani family planning. So we sent £111 million to them for prophylactics, unbelievable, for their family planning. And now we've sent £19 million to Pakistan for them to deal with their own child sex abuse problem. We got a big one here. We should be concentrating on our own problems, don't you think?
Well, totally, Kevin. Why do we have to put the world's problems to right and not our own? They don't come and help us when we've got problems. You can see that. Why do we keep dishing out? It's the taxpayers. It's time for the taxpayers' revolt now, Kevin. It's got to happen because I think it's gone too far and it's gone bloody mad, excuse my French, really mad.
The whole country's mad. What do you reckon about the, there's a big coup going on in Westminster that Keir Starmer's in trouble. Labour MPs plotting against him. They think he may be gone soon. I mean, ostensibly, I think that would be great to get rid of the world's worst Prime Minister, one of the worst Prime Ministers we've ever had. The trouble is, who would replace him? And if it's Ed Miliband, I'm leaving.
Don't, Kevin, please don't upset me any more than you have today.
I know what you mean, Herbie.
Oh dear. Listen, Kevin, This government is really the worst that anybody could ever come across.
Unbelievably bad.
As for the Prime Minister, he's the worst of any Prime Minister could ever be. Kevin, we're losing the plot very quickly. The country's going down the drain extremely quickly. Unless somebody puts a stop to it, we are heading for big, big troubles. Look, nothing's right, Kevin. We talk night after night about one crisis, this crisis. The government's not creating or dealing with the crisis. He's travelling around the world. He's travelling here, but he's never here when we need him. This is one of the problems. He's never here to solve the problems that we've got. We've got bigger problems than the rest of the world. We can't please the rest of the world. The world doesn't look after us at all when we're in trouble, Kevin, as I said.
I agree with you, Herbie, and I also agree with the tenor of what you're saying. There's this kind of feeling, this pervasive incompetence, that the country is going to the dog's hell in a handcart, and nobody seems to be able to stop it. It's really, really worrying. And don't forget, just to make your night complete, Herbie, what is it now, a couple of weeks or a week or so, we get the budget. So that's something to look forward to, isn't it? Herbie, always a pleasure to talk to you, mate. Thank you very much for another great call. This is from David. David says, so it looks like the BBC will have to pay an enormous fine because they misrepresented the truth. So why should the UK licence fee payers pay for it? Why not those who oversaw it, the governors of the BBC, from their fat salaries? After all, they're the guilty ones. Well, the trouble is that the kind of money, I agree with this sentiment of what you're saying, David, but the kind of money we're talking about, the governor's salaries or the executive salaries won't even begin to cover it. This could end up being hundreds of millions of pounds. It certainly is going to be a substantial amount. So trying to find the editor who did it, or the person responsible, or the executive in charge, even getting rid of the director general and the head of news, it doesn't cover it. There's going to be a huge amount of money to pay out to the president, I suspect. So I like the idea of what you're saying, except in the real world, it ain't going to happen. That was David there. Let's go to break. When we come back, more of your calls, more of your WhatsApp voice notes, and I'll read some more messages.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Here's an announcement. From Monday the 1st of December, our talkTV app is on the move. All of your favourite shows and podcasts will continue over on the Talk app. So if you're watching or listening on the talkTV app right now, you need to download the Talk app from the App Store or Google Play. Do it now. That's what it says there. Do it now. No, you should. Seriously. Great new app. Get involved. Right. Let's play a quick WhatsApp voice note. This is Mick on Pakistani aid.
Good evening, Kevin. The reality is the Muslim vote is more important to Starmer & Co. than the victims. The man is disgusting, and the sooner he is gone, the better for all concerned.
I think Mix makes a good point. Everything you see about all this is Labour's craven, obsessive pursuit of the Muslim vote. There's 4 million Muslims live in this country. Obviously, not all of them can vote. Not all of them are old enough. But there's a fair few votes in it for Labour, and that's why they don't really want this rape gang inquiry, because it won't make Muslims look very good, and so on and so forth. Most of their policies, lots of their policies, is why they recognise Palestine, to try and get the Muslim vote. It's not really working, but they're desperately pursuing it. Mick's making a good point there. Let's quickly talk to Michael in Norfolk. Hello, Michael.
Hello there, how are you?
I'm very good. You want to talk about Andrew?
Yes, I do. I think Andrew has only got one option. He's got to go to America and face Congress, because if he doesn't, he's a total and utter coward.
Well, I agree with that, but he could do it. It doesn't have to go necessarily to America. He could do it via Zoom, Michael, and I would find that satisfactory. And I agree with you. I think this guy, it's time he showed some decency. It's time he showed that he does want to help the victims of sexual abuse, and he needs to testify to the Congress. But do you think he will, Michael, at the end of the day?
I think he's going to have to.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Otherwise, he's going to lose whatever credibility he's got left.
I also think that the royal family, the rest of the royal family, want him to do this, to show that he's got some decency in him, and to show that the royal family does care about the victims of sexual abuse, because the Queen, for example, Queen Camilla, does a lot of work in that area. So they want him to. He's got, the deadline is November the 20th. So, Michael, I think we have to watch this space, but I totally agree with you. Do the right thing, Andrew, for once in your rotten life. Michael, good call. Thank you for ringing. Michael in Norfolk. Let's play another WhatsApp voice note, shall we? This is the last one. This is Tristan on grooming gangs.
There are so many problems. It's quite unbelievable how many problems there are in this country, to be honest with you. And it definitely feels like it's escalated since Labour came in power. But one of the main things is the grooming gangs issue. Obviously, because of the issue with it going to cause issues with Muslim communities, it's just falling on deaf ears, especially under this government. I hate to say it, but I think it's just all going to go totally quiet until Labour are out of power.
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly kicking the can down the road in terms of this public inquiry that the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, said in June, early June. He said, I've read Louise Casey's report and it's absolutely clear we need a public inquiry into the rape gang scandal. Here we are, what is it now, November, middle of November. No sign of it, and we're told, if we're lucky, next year. Those girls, like Ellie we spoke to earlier, are just being let down again. Let down once again by the authorities, and it's a horrible, horrible, horrible thing to do to them. They deserve better. Here's another text from Joanna in Salisbury. She said, everyone in Starmer's party is out to get him. I keep remembering last year's spoof of the exploding Christmas tree. Maybe he had better give the button to someone else. Yeah, I wonder if he's going to do that again. Remember that? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey! Turning on the lights of the Downing Street Christmas tree. He's got that. We've got that to look forward to. Keir's annual Christmas tree light switching on ceremony. Great. Let's let's go back to the phone show. By the way, in just a few minutes now, it'll be the news, of course. Then we go over live to Washington to talk, to watch and enjoy Harry Cole Saves the West, our programme live from Washington. And then at 11 p.m, on comes Petri Hoskins. She'll take you through into the small hours until 1 a.m. So Harry Cole Saves the West next after the 10 o'clock news. Then Petri Hoskins from 11 until 1 a.m. A lot still to come. Stay tuned. Let's talk to Mary in Cyprus. Hello, Mary.
Hello, Kevin. I just wanted to ask you a question.
Please.
If Rachel Reeves' budget does everything that it's alleged to be going to do with putting all the taxes up and everything,
yep,
how do you think she's going to get out and make excuses? Because she won't be able to blame the Conservative government because she's put the country in the position it's in financially. So what's she going to do?
Well, I'll tell you what she's going to do, Mary. She's going to tax the backside off us. She's going to break all of her manifesto promises because she has to. She's got, you know, when she kept banging on when she first became the Chancellor all those months ago about the financial black hole, the £22 billion financial black hole that the Tories had left. That was imaginary. She made that up. But because of her awful stewardship of our economy and that dreadful tax grab, the £40 billion tax grab budget last October, she's ruined the economy, she's killed the economy stone dead, so she's now got a very real £40 to £50 billion black hole in our finances that she made all by herself, and the only way to fill that hole is through us, taxing us. It's going to be a disaster, Mary, a disaster.
But what excuses do you think she's going to make to do that? I mean, I appreciate it. That's probably what she's got to do.
Haven't you heard her, Mary? She's been busy blaming it. It's everybody's fault except for her. It's Brexit. It's Donald Trump's tariffs. It's these mysterious financial global headwinds. Everything apart from her. But actually, the real reason that she's going to have to tax us to hell is it's her fault. She's useless. Yeah. She's useless, Mary. And we are going to pay the serious price. Enjoy Cyprus. You're in a better place than us. Nice to talk to you, Mary. Thank you for an excellent call. One last call. Let's talk to Ricky in Bristol, who wants to talk about, well, what we euphemistically call the grooming gang scandal. It's the rape gang scandal. Hello, Ricky. What would you like to say?
So I heard earlier that you said we've sent £19 million to another country.
To
is that right?
Pakistan, yes.
Mate, honestly, I'm ashamed to be English. This country is an absolute disgrace. And what I don't understand, right, tell me if I'm wrong here. Why is the king, the king of England, why is he not stepping in and saying, you lot are a bunch of failures and a joke. This country is an embarrassment. So I'll tell you what, mate. All these people going around stabbing people and all this molesting and sexual assault.
Yep.
What would happen if you went to the Middle East and started stabbing people up and doing sexual assault? You get a bloody head chopped off.
That's true. Well, you talk about the king, Ricky. You talk about the king. The trouble is what you say. Why doesn't the king step in and sort all of this mess out, particularly the grooming gang inquiry? Because he doesn't have the power to do that.
Well, that is a joke. Because tell me, right? If the king of England does not have the power to do that,
well, we don't vote for him. It's a democracy. The government runs the country, not the king. In fact, the king does what the government tells him to do.
Yeah, well, then he's actually pushover as a joke, and that just. I'm not being funny. The king, I just say, who's got the power to do anything?
It's not the king, I'm afraid. It's not the king. It really isn't. But, you know, I totally understand your frustration, Ricky. The king can't do anything. The king doesn't have any power. He's just a figurehead. But it's a shame. I wish he could step in. Ricky, I've got to go, but thank you for an excellent call. It's the end of the show. Thanks for ringing. That's Ricky in Bristol. That's about it. As I said, Harry Cole Saves the West in just a little while. You've been an amazing audience. I've been Kevin O'Sullivan. It's been quite a night. And tomorrow night we're going to be back at the same time with another edition of the Political Asylum. That's at 7 p.m. tomorrow night, all the way through to 10 p.m, hosted by me as always. So I expect you to be there. I look forward to your company. You take care now.